Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is Annie Peguero. Thanks so much for listening to Adventures with Annie Peguero. I'm thrilled to share this show with you and introduce you to some really brilliant people that I've met on this journey and share all the adventures in business and in life and all these things that are going to help you so much on your journey. First, I just want to thank you so very much. I'm so incredibly grateful for all of the donations that have come in. In the last couple of episodes, I asked you to donate to my podcast if it's provided value for you, if the episodes here and what I've shared have helped you in your life. And I was so pleasantly surprised to see the beautiful and so generous donations come in. So if you feel moved in any way, you can always donate through PayPal at anne.peguero, Peguero, @gmail.com. That's on PayPal. It's beautiful to see this energy that's shifting on the planet now, like today. And in the last few months or so, I have noticed a tremendous shift, a tremendous expansion. And I know that you're feeling it too, because if you're here, if you're listening to this podcast, you are a person who is energetically connected, intuitive, or looking to expand your intuition. So I know that you feel it, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you and to be able to share in the beautiful things that are happening right now on this planet. We're really coming out of a dark time, and it feels really, really good. You'll notice here in my podcast that I talk a lot about life and parenting and marriage and, all of the things. That's why we call it adventures. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking about a workshop that we have coming up, specifically for empaths in business. And it's called Social Media Marketing for Empaths. Because what I realized at my retreat that I hosted, the Sōl Life Business and Renewal Retreat, that the beautiful, amazing, brilliant women that I've been working with really feel uncertain when it comes to social media and sharing and, what do I say? What do I talk about? So my special guest today that I have on the show today, Elena Jochum, and I came up with a kind of a mini course. And that's specifically for empaths in business. To access that, you can just go to anniepeguero.com/social-media-marketing-for-empaths. And I'll also be putting it on my website at anniepeguero.com. It's only $22. Feels like a no-brainer. It's going to be a really beautiful way to showcase your magnetic energy through your social, through stories, through being real and raw, not perfect, and just sharing it. So Elena and I are doing that together, and it's going to be really beautiful. Can't wait to see you in the class. And now my beautiful guest, I'm so thrilled to introduce her to you today, Elena Jochum. Elena is my friend, my longtime client. I'm a client of hers. We just have a really beautiful sharing relationship, and it's been such an incredible journey. We met on Okinawa, Japan. We're going to share about that in our interview. And let me just share a little bit about you. So Elena is a little bit about her, not about you, a little bit about Elena. Elena Jochum is an award-winning fine artist and graphic designer who is obsessed with bringing your creative vision to life. Elena is an award-winning graphic designer and artist who specializes in experiential branding and finding healing through art. She incorporates photography into her branding packages and has been exploring watercolor techniques for commissioned paintings. They are absolutely stunning, like beautiful. Elena also loves Finding Peace by Blue Water. And that's where we met, on the island of Okinawa, beautiful island that we called home for so many years. So I'm thrilled, honored, and really excited to share with you my friend, Elena Jochum. Okay, welcome back to the podcast. I'm sitting here with my beautiful friend, Elena Jochum. I'm thrilled to have you on the podcast today. How long have we known each other?
Oh gosh, I think we've known each other since the end of 2019.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Right?
Is that 4 years?
Oh my God.
3 years. I can't math.
I know. Well, I mean,
feels like forever.
So we met in Okinawa, because we're both working on a project for a magazine. I was submitting an ad to a magazine that you were. What was your role in that
I
magazine
was an
again?
editor. I was a
Yeah.
co-editor.
Yeah, and like we kind of hit it off right from the beginning. And whenever I describe you to people, I'm like, I'm her client, she's my client, we're friends, and people are probably like, "Whoa." Like that's a lot. But I love you. I love our friendship. I love the beautiful work that you do, and I'm really excited to share you here on my podcast. Because first of all, I think everything that you share on your socials is beautiful. Like, I mean, it's gorgeous. You're such an incredible artist, but there's so much more to you. Like, I
I
mean,
bet.
as all of us, right? Like, we're not like sharing everything on the socials, but there's so much more to you. And right now we're talking a lot about empaths in business and how to share your business on social media, specifically Instagram, when you're an empath. And I think it's something that's not really touched on a lot. I would love it if you would introduce yourself and just share with our listeners, like, what it's like to be such a creative and also take on the energy of the work that you're doing, the clients that you're creating for. I mean, all that stuff. I mean, those are like 16 questions in one, but whatever. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And it's my very first podcast.
Yay.
Yay! I wouldn't do this with anyone but you, Annie. So thank you so much for
Mm.
introducing me to this whole new realm. And yeah, so for creatives, I think it's natural to have a little bit of empathy already be a part of it because what you do is you take in the world and you process it through your mind, through your perception, and then you lay it out in front of others to see. So it's this very raw experience that I think requires a part of you to be an introvert.
Mm.
And the introversion of it, and with the fine art in general, is something that I showcase in my social media when it's just me in a room painting. It's this quiet space that you create for yourself to process. And I think today, even, like, I notice that people get so bombarded with external noises, with so much stimulation that there is no room to just stay quiet and peaceful in almost this meditative way and create. So I think that's a big part of it. And with a lot of energy that I do deal with, like some loss, whether it's pets or loved ones when I create my watercolor painting commissions, I think having that quiet space for me to just be and process is a big part of it. So I don't know if that really answers that question or those
It
many
really
questions.
does. It does. And I think that really comes through in what you share on your social, specifically like in your Instagram feed. I feel like whenever I'm scrolling like just um on your profile, I frequently go there because it's so beautiful. And
Oh,
I I guess right there, like I never really put into words what I thought and felt when I like was on like looking at your photos, serene and peaceful. I mean, that's
wow.
exactly what it is. Definitely that sense of calm comes over me, and I'm just, it doesn't even feel like I'm scrolling. I'm like I'm a consumer of art at that time. Like I'm really um like in it in the peaceful space. So wow. Yeah, thanks for creating that for us. I didn't even realize that was
Of
happening, which
course.
is part of how beautiful it is. So tell us about your like where when did you realize that you were an artist, and where does your kind of formal art training come from? Like how did this come to be your passion and life's work?
Wow, those are very great questions. Annie, thank you so much. And honestly, I am humbled with your views of my profile and what I've been sharing on social media. So thank you so much for that. As far as when when I knew or when did I know? I think I knew before I was born, honestly. And I feel like a lot of artists can definitely relate to that because, it's something you are either born with or you sense it and you just start creating at such a young age. Um, and for me too, I think my formal education started with really my mom and my grandmother and my grandfather because all three of them are artists. And, my mom, she did these illustrations for kids' books, and she also created a lot of fine art for art galleries and things like that. And my grandmother, she did botanical illustrations to be represented in school slides. Yeah, and my grandfather, he was a designer and also created fine art. So I feel like it's something genetic. There has to be a genetic component. And it's fair to say that I probably, received a little bit of that gene. And as far as formal education, I think, my mom taught me a couple of things, but not so intently because she didn't want me to be a starving artist.
Mm.
So I think she kept me away from that formal education as much as she could. And I did ended up taking classes at Towson University. I took some art classes, some design classes, but my degree was in psychology. So that was interesting because I ended up transitioning into graphic design field and I worked for former Becker Group, which is now GES, and they specialized in holiday decor. So whenever you went to the mall and you saw a Santa set in the middle of the mall, I may have had something to do with it
Oh
for a
my.
couple of years.
I
So
didn't
that
know
was super.
that.
Yep, I started as a designer with holiday decor and it transitioned into traveling exhibits like Harry Potter. I did an exhibit for National Geographic, worked on Earth Explorers exhibit, which I think is still around, so it's worth checking out. Um, then I proceeded to continue my education in fine arts, and I ended up going to Maryland Institute College of Art and getting a post-bachelor degree in fine arts. It was a 1 year like program. It was really cool. I got to curate our class like final thesis exhibits and things like that. So I love it. And I
I
continue
love
education.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I wrote down a couple of things. First, like I guess kind of the juicier one. You're
Yeah.
talking about how like you feel like that you knew that you were an artist before you were born, and what came to me was, have you ever done like an Akashic records? Not so much a meditation, but like going into your own Akashic records and kind of pulling from your past lives and seeing any types of visions um, in that area.
So that's a really great question, and I've never been asked it. I think my connection with the universe transcribes more through dreams rather
Mm.
than intention. My meditative intention is usually set in a group, and when I have someone guide me through astral projection or visualizing something, and I find those visuals extremely strong, I can picture things as if I'm actually there, but it's usually guided to be more of a future realm or something that's anticipated or just a calming environment. And in that way, I try not to dig purposefully too far in the past or too far in the future. I feel like I need to know more about the sacred zone before I really dip my toes in it. But my dreams have been very eye-opening per se. So within my dreams, I feel like there is such a vast universe of energies and possibilities that, it's very difficult to tell what's present, what's past,
Mm.
what's actually happening. And actually, when I was a teacher's assistant at Towson University, I was really interested in sensation and perception. So I ended up giving an entire course and lecture on, I guess it was a lecture, it wasn't a whole course, but one class I taught sensation and perception of time while you're dreaming.
Mm.
And I found that very interesting because what is time when you're asleep? Do you sense it the same way? I mean, is it based off of circadian rhythm? Is it based off of REM? I don't know. I found that very cool. So to answer your question vaguely, I think I haven't tried to access those things myself, but I think I have received some glimpses that really prove to me that I'm a very visual person.
Yes.
And I constantly see these beautiful sceneries or
Oh,
actions or something. And even in my dreams, I take photos and then I try to show
oh,
people,
amazing.
like as I'm waking up, like, oh, I have this photo of this beautiful thing I saw. And obviously, I don't have photos,
Oh
because it was a
my.
dream. And I
Oh,
have tried painting. I have
uh-huh.
tried painting my dreams. So, I've made a couple illustrations like years ago because it would be like this dystopian, futuristic city completely like submerged in water or something like
Whoa.
that. Um, and I try to capture them because I'm like, is it mean something? Is it my fears? Is it
Mhm.
some kind of like powerful premonition? I don't know. So maybe I should start doing that again.
I mean, it's so valuable for just for personal growth and for the creative process. Just this last week, I've my dreams have been so much more vivid. I mean, they're usually kind of like scenarios that and like a journey that I go through, but just this last week, they were like really powerful with two super powerful animals. One
Oh,
2 nights ago a snake, and last night grizzly bears, like a whole field of grizzly bears all walking in one
oh.
direction. And my dreams are more of like the like in feeling. So like
Hmm.
I'll remember very vividly the way that I felt in my dream. So I'll wake up and like
Okay.
immediately go to my notes app and start talking and describing the way that I felt. So I feel like that is so um like just it mirrors your heart. It mirrors what you do and your passions and the beauty that you bring to the world. I think that I love that. I'm so happy that we're talking about this because I feel like it's
Yes.
like a little like just barely touched on, like just scratched the surface, especially in the business
Hmm.
area, right? Like I feel like we're all talking about lead magnets and people are talking about, funnels and things like that. And it's like, all right, what about your dreams? Like, what
Yeah.
about, your visions and things like that? So, oh, I love it. All right, very good. And then I think also it's important to note that like when you were first like this young creative, right? And you said that your mom, like, she didn't want you to be this starving artist. I get it. I get it. Cause so often, our gifts kind of emerge, right? And it's like, here, this is me. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. And like
Hmm.
that kind of provider protector is like, you don't want to get into that because you're not going to make a lot of money or you're not going to X, Y, and Z. But it came back for you. Like
Yeah.
maybe you went down one path, but it was like undeniably such a part of you that
Hmm.
it had to come back and had to be what you ultimately like where what you are doing to leave your mark and your legacy on this planet through your art. So I'm so happy you came back to art.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I don't think I
Yeah.
ever left, Annie. I think
Ah,
even with psychology, I
yeah.
took an internship in art therapy. Like it never left my side and I continued painting. So there were moments when I thought maybe it's not for me because
Mm.
it is expensive to go to an art school. So I will, make that fair warning, but there are scholarships, there are things you can do to still continue it as a passion. There's a lot of videos and tutorials out there. I think it's so beneficial for everyone to find a creative side of them because it's such a healing realm. Like it's such an amazing outlet for things. And it also helps you ground yourself. And whether it's music, dancing, like any of the creative arts are just fantastic. And I honestly feel like we're on the precipice of something great. And maybe that's what your dream about bears was. I feel like, maybe you're leading your bear friends into this amazing new future. I don't know.
I'm a little teary. I'm getting teary. And, just
Oh,
thinking of my own daughter, like my Lily has been in your art classes, your art series.
yeah.
And and I told you this before, you're like, we got to get these started up again. When she was in your classes, I think did we do a 10 class series, something like
We
that?
did.
It was
Hmm.
such a beautiful experience for her. And every day I would find her in our sunroom with her canvas, with her watercolors. And she was just so much more connected to
Oh,
herself, to her environment, to our family, to her heart. And she really enjoyed that guided teaching from you. And yes, we do have
hmm.
videos, but having to be there to show up for the classes with you was good for me because like I knew it was a time where she was going to create. Now there's like so many things. We've got the soccer, we've got they just like to play, and we're go to the pool. Like now they're back in school, like just all the things. So I feel like this is just a sign and a real wake up call for me as her mother to bring that, like making time for her
Hmm.
to um practice her gift. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and the same
absolutely.
with like all of us, like humans, right? So
Hmm.
there was definitely a time in my life where I was like I'm just not creative. Like I don't have a creative bone in my body, or
Oh
like,
no.
oh, you are so good at that. Like I could never come up with that idea to post on my social media about my business. So like what would you say to the creator who pretends or like takes on this
Hmm.
persona of not being creative? Like it's a thing, right?
Hmm.
From coaches, yogis, um energy healers, business people of all kinds in the online space, and um with physical products, not those that are
Sure.
creating, but those that are creating like physical products, because usually they're pretty good with being creative and sharing their gifts. But what about the people that are creatives but don't identify with being
Sure.
an artsy kind of creator type person, and but who are feeling very deeply into their businesses, their passions, and connecting deeply with their audience? So let's talk about that for a little bit.
Hmm. So a couple of things come to mind. I think this is also a little bit of a branding design question as well that I'm sensing. But so let me go back. One thing that I did learn is that ideas are usually not new. To come up with an entirely new idea, you need to be like the first person on the planet, you know? Like everything I feel like is kind of recycled, remixed, mixed and matched, whatever you want to call it. So I think the first step would be to do a lot of research. And, it's an advice that's always given to me in fine art, in graphic design. And the more you learn about the subject, the more research you do, the more ideas you will get. So passively just sitting in the room and staring at a white wall might prove a little bit difficult because you're gonna have this like clump of thoughts and feelings completely disorganized, which is also a good thing. And I actually have strategies to work with that as well. And I think different approaches help. But I would really start with even Pinterest. I think that's a fun way to do it and find something that resonates with you and then change it up just enough so it's not plagiarism. Like one of the things I've seen is people just copying each other's content and like it's so obvious
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell right away. So changing it, I think 30, 70%, the more you change it, the more unique it's going to become to you. But it will take more research and more practice. And I don't want to scare anyone, but I think Pinterest is fun. Like creating your own board on Pinterest that represents you is super fun and it's content that already exists. So even if you try to recreate that scene or recreate that photograph, it won't be exactly the same because you can change the colors, you can change the outfit, you can change the mood a little bit. Um, so for that type of visual content, I think research is a really, really good start. And then I actually wrote a couple things down as you were asking me. Um, for people who are creative but don't consider themselves creative, like what you just said about yourself, first of all, it's not true. I'm a firm believer that everyone is a creative. But if you have this block that you are in the process of creating content, but you feel like you're just not quite there yet, I do think going a little bit deeper and becoming an introvert for a second, just thinking like, why are you doing this? Why do you have this page to begin with? Is it because you're passionate about yoga? Is it because you find yourself like a true healer or a coach, or an instructor or anything like that? Find out your core values and morals and a mission statement. And I think that would really give a good foundation for things that you can add on to it later on. And even with branding, like I can definitely help with that, finding your true colors, finding that font that really speaks to people you're trying to address, to your, your public, your clients. Um, so I think it's a really deep feeling, and for creatives, like doing again like that introverted part and brainstorming, writing things down is super helpful. So I think I answered your question. Um,
Yeah, you sure did.
okay.
I mean, I also I feel like it's a place like creativity, the sacral chakra, the whole like hip region, right? Like sex, yeah, creativity, deep feeling. Like it's all a place that um people don't want to go. Like they don't want to go
Yeah.
into that as it is related to their business. So like that's separate. That
Mm,
is that's over here, and then my business is like here. And the more I blended those regions, I guess,
mm-hmm,
areas, the more I connected my sacral chakra, the more I connected the orange and the yellow and the green and the blue, the more I connected it all, the more in touch, not only with what I was offering, but the more in touch I got with my audience, like with the listeners of this podcast, with my own clients in Sōl Life, with people that I haven't even met yet on my social media. And I feel like blending that, like that
mm,
you do it so beautifully in your work, and bringing out like through the design process and the branding process, the way that you are gathering information from your clients, asking questions differently, because I've worked with other designers, and it was kind of definitely not as like deep and emotionally driven and raw as it's been working with you. And that's a huge compliment, like because I like that. Like I like it. I don't like any. My friend and I have this joke. It's like, oh, it was another broccoli talk, and that just means just like this chit chat, like meaningless chit
mhm,
chat, right? Um that's just like the surface like weather chat, and that's what I feel like I've seen with other branding professionals that I've worked with. So yeah, I think that's a really good message for people who you kind of, because of the nature of their work, feel like they need to be more creative, but they like have this block for whatever reason. So
mhm,
those are really great tips and strategies. um so we have this class coming up that kind of like was born out of our retreat that I hosted, and that you so beautifully designed, the Sōl Life Business and Renewal Retreat that was in DC a couple weekends ago. And we're like, let's do a social media for empaths class. And I don't know if I know that I've seen other like social or like business for empaths coaching and things like that, but this is specifically to help people who identify as empaths with their social media. So as an empath yourself, I mean, I also am, we're empaths. What do you feel is going to be one of the biggest takeaways of this class? Like without giving away like the content and things like
Hmm.
that, but like why would somebody who identifies as an empath, why would they want to do this class with us?
That's a very amazing question. And without my husband's permission, I will bring him into this.
Oh,
He,
yay.
yeah. Um, sorry, Jacob. He was really excited about everything we've been doing, and he actually came up with an idea that I think is brilliant. And I'm listening to his idea. I'm getting really excited. I'm like, this could really help people. This is awesome. Oh my gosh. But then at the same time, I'm thinking he has zero social media presence. How is he going to market? He has like barely an Instagram. He's not active on Facebook. He doesn't use TikTok. He barely answers email. So, that all made me think like, okay, so he has this amazing, amazing idea. He's also an empath. Um, but how is he going to actually present this idea to the world without using any of the things that we will help people with, right? And I think that's the answer. I think it's for people who are uncomfortable but have brilliant ideas, and we will just help them help the world with what they have to offer.
It's such a ripple effect. I can't wait to see what Jacob has up his sleeve. I love that. And my Al is the same. Like he has a blog. He's a fantastic writer. He's funny and he has this Instagram account. He like hired some graphic designer
Oh,
in the Marine Corps that like whipped up this really like intricate design for him, and he has no social following, and he's like trying
oh,
to, yeah, and I'm like, oh, these are great ideas that you have. This is a beautiful thing that you're sharing. Yeah,
yeah,
I just don't know. So yeah, they're like the same type of situation going. Yeah, I think
right.
that that's just, it is that ripple. It is that like, okay, we get it. Like we definitely take on the energy, and it's all about um knowing what to do with that. So, earlier today, I gotta write this, or I gotta share this. Um, I'm recording a whole other episode specifically, you know, talking about tips for empaths. But these three things that I want to share here, sitting here with you, that I think is really the core of staying not burnt out, not
Mm,
drained or overwhelmed or like completely depleted from creating on social media when you're an empath. And tell me if you how you feel about this. Practice saying no. Like it's one thing, like I feel like we hear you got to say no. You have to say no, protect your energy, but just practice it. Like practice saying no to social engagements, to like even like little things even around your house. Like just practice it. You don't have to be like this no person, but just practice saying no. And that also comes down to it within your social media. Like if
hmm.
you do not feel like sharing this thing to your stories every single day or creating this thing every single day, then just practice giving yourself permission to not do it, right? I'm going to say no to that right now. And then
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, like to that, like that boundary and protecting your energy?
Absolutely. So with saying no, I feel like if it, and I keep going back to values and morals, but if it goes against some of my values and morals, I will say no. There was a really fun event that I was invited to this Thursday through a friend, and it would have been great for networking, a little bit of marketing, but it revolves around bourbon and wine. And for me, that's just not something necessarily I want to be around. So even though it could have been a great opportunity, I still said no. I would have been there for other reasons to take some pictures, but I think that's been um, scheduled for a different time. So that gave me even less reason to participate. And that's not necessarily the kind of publicity I want to be in. That's not my brand. That doesn't represent what I stand for.
I love that. Like both of us are sober. We both don't drink alcohol. And I feel like that's a whole additional podcast episode,
Yes.
for women in business, for military spouses, for I mean anyone that has that, maybe alcohol doesn't really fit into my life and just kind of sitting with that with what that really looks and feels like. So yeah,
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that. I wanted to do this meetup, this gathering at a local brewery, but then I'm like, I don't want to
Yes.
do this at a brewery, but it's
Hmm.
so beautiful. It's just a great space. But yeah, I don't, it's
It
just,
doesn't
oh, I get,
represent
no, I get it.
your
Yeah.
beliefs. Yeah,
Yeah. Practice saying no. And then
absolutely.
the two other ones were like fully feeling your feels and fully getting into the energy that you're feeling. So if you're in the creative process and you like something comes up for you, you have this kind of like download of thoughts, feelings, energy, and what what happens for you if you're like, oh, I don't have time for this right now. Like I can't get into the feeling part of it, as opposed to when you're like, oh, I didn't expect to feel this way. I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah.
Um, do you ever experience that or find yourself in that place?
So that would be like a two-part answer. I think people are expecting to feel happy a lot, or if they're sad, they're hoping to get out of that sadness so that they're happy. And happy is very fleeting. Sadness is also fleeting. I think one of the most fundamental emotions that would be great for all of us is contentment. And I think just accepting that you're feeling sad right now is the best feeling because then you're not feeling really sad anymore. You're just accepting this contentment, like this is how I feel, and that's what it is, and it'll pass. And same thing with happiness. If you're feeling happy, just being content is one of the things that I'm striving towards. And I think having all kinds of feelings is great, but accepting them at that time is like the healthier anchor that you can search for. And as far as how does that interpret with fine art? I think a lot of us as young adults or children have a hard time learning emotional intelligence. I don't really love that term, but understanding your emotions, learning acceptance, and just kind of working through them. We don't always have the most ideal environment for that. So we end up dragging that through our adult lives and then passing it on. So a couple of things that I work with that is separating like abstract expressionism from planned artwork. And
Mm.
abstract expressionism is something I do that requires emotion at that time. And if I don't have like a
Mm.
specific feeling, I will turn on music and the music will bring out whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So I think music and fine art work really together. And for people with synesthesia, it's even more so. But there is a way to do it, and I will actually do some healing art with with that technique. And yes, I think abstract expressionism is all about movement, emotion, and things like that. But planned painting and some of the watercolor commissions that I do don't necessarily require that because it's more peaceful. It's more kind of like contentment and acceptance and not so much like rage or
Mm.
love or you know what I mean? So yeah, that is kind of like a two-part thing. Like one is learning things about yourself and another one is expressing it through an art.
That brings up this like memory for me, like a thought, not like a distant memory, it like just happened like last week or something, or
So
where
long ago.
I can't, I don't know where exactly it was. Maybe it was at our retreat when somebody was talking about, um, they were at like, some type of art, they were at an art class, and the mission of the art class was to paint like on a glass or paint something, but it was like to paint whatever you want. It was like,
Mhm.
here's the canvas, here's the brushes, here's the paint, and you're free to create whatever you'd like. So kind of like that abstract expressionism that you're talking about, but like with a mission to paint
Mhm.
something on this piece. Well, and from experience, I what used to be the person who would just stare at the thing and like
Mhm.
couldn't create for fear of all of the things, like not being beautiful or not being enough or not being accepted, or what somebody else had expectations of the thing being. And I feel like the abstract expressionism that I didn't even know like actually had that label, is such a important part of the creative process when it comes to creating something deliberate, like creating
Yeah.
something with intention, like what you're talking about, a fine art piece, or whether it's a post on social media that
Mhm.
is sharing your business that is connected to your heart. So I mean, what a huge message. Get out there and dance more, move your body, and create random things that
Yes.
um I was in this mastermind with an artist, and she was like, part of her like her teaching was to get her students to create something that took a long time, like was very like uh what, like hard work, right? Like it took a while.
Mm.
It wasn't like
Mhm.
just some drawing and then destroy it. Like destroy
Ooh.
it. And she said that people like they it was so hard for them to like burn the piece or throw it out or whatever was her method of destroying it. But I loved that so much because
Yeah,
it's really about that, like what comes out during the creative process, and not so much the end
absolutely.
product sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just want to kind of piggyback on that. I did a similar lesson where you rip things up,
Rip it
you
up.
create multiple paintings and just tear them apart and create something new with them.
Oh,
So
with
then
those
you put them
pieces.
back as
I
separate
love that.
pieces and curate one thing, and you can even add more on top of that.
Oh,
So
let's do
there are so
that.
many things, so many things. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be beautiful. You create your
Right.
art for yourself.
Yeah.
You do it for you. You do it for you. Don't do it for anyone else. People don't know what they're looking at. Like you can't, you know, you can't tell them what to think, and it's so subjective. Art is subjective. You can't please everyone because then you're not going to be an artist. You're just going to be a merchant, which is fine, but it's very different. Yeah. Do it for you.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean, even as a coach, that you know, there, yes, there is a degree of what do the people in my circle, in my sphere of influence, in my audience and community, what do they need, right? Um, but sometimes I don't enjoy creating that.
Hmm.
So I haven't created it. There's a lot of things that people have told me that they need that I was excited about at one time that I just haven't created because it doesn't light me up. It doesn't like it just it's not something that I feel inspired to create. And yeah, it's just
Exactly.
across the board. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, like as it relates to an empath, creative, is energy clearing techniques and practicing energy clearing techniques on yourself. I know that you um, are definitely a person who enjoys um, things like deliberate with intention, and you know moving in a like intentional activities and things like that. So when it comes to protecting your own energy and kind of like um whatever it is, like practices, whether it's exercise, meditation, smudging with sage, I mean jumping in the ocean, being by the, I mean all of the things,
Hmm.
What are some of the practices that you as an empath do to clear your energy so that you can show up fully wherever you are?
That's a fantastic question, and I do have a couple techniques. I think I haven't consciously thought of them recently, but I am fully aware of them, if that makes sense. And one of the things I will say, it did come a little bit more with age. Like I think when I was younger and like in high school and college, like I was like, yeah, the world like should just bring it, bring everything on. And it got to be too much. And that taught me to really take it one step at a time and be mindful of who you invite into your life. I think being mindful of your friends and your circle has been a big part of like kind of my clearing. And I remember like the conversation recently about like getting this gut feeling about certain people. And I usually I don't share my world with them because we only have a limited amount of time. And I think it's important to receive as much as you give with people. So I always had this analogy that after I spend time with certain people, my vial of energy depletes and I don't have any energy left. And then I would usually sit in a room by myself for however many hours it takes and just go into this introversion, like introvert itself, and just dig deep in my thoughts and kind of meditate on that. And that usually brings me back like fully ready. And I know some people sleep for like 18 hours, that helps too. But really, for me, it's just going back to being an introvert, because being such an empath overloads you with emotions sometimes and overloads you with sensory information. And I just need a little bit of time to absorb all of that and process all of that. So I think that kind of answers it. Oh, definitely seeing water. I know
Mm-hmm.
water is like such a big one for
Yeah.
me. That's why we actually moved next to a river, which was intentional. Being by water and just looking at the waves, and back on Okinawa, it was the blue water for me.
Oh,
That was everything. I miss it so much, but my
so
paintings help
much.
me remember too, so that's good.
Oh, yes. We have one of yours right on our mantle. So we
I
can go
love
there
it.
every time I'm in my kitchen, my living room. It's like the center of our home.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I think that those are such valuable strategies, and a lot of times, we talk about clearing our own energy, but I love that you brought up like clearing your physical space of people who are not, I don't want to use a buzzword, but like serving you, like
Hmm.
serving your life,
Hmm.
serving your energy and helping to bring out the best in you, like such a big thing. My husband and I, we always have a word for the year, and our word this year is keystone. And it's because we're kind of like bringing our life back to the core. And
Yes.
really all decisions that we make as a family are all go back to that keystone. Like, does it serve the core, not the
Hmm.
Marine Corps, the
Not to be confused
core,
with that.
like of our family?
Yeah.
And as an individual human, a business owner, you can always ask yourself that question: does this
Hmm.
activity that I'm possibly saying yes to, or opportunity or collaboration or whatever it is, serve my core, like me,
Hmm.
to my core? And usually immediately, like
Yes.
you feel it in your body, like you feel it like in your abdomen, in your solar plexus. And
Hmm.
is it like, yes, absolutely, it's a hell yes, it's a full body, like hell yes, or like you're retracting or whatever, and you just notice where that comes up in your body. Oh man, like I
I
could
love
talk with
it.
you all day about this. All day. This is
Me
great.
too.
I just love it. Please tell us where people can find you. What's the best way to reach out to you? Tell us about some of your offers, and all of that stuff. I'll talk about the class that we have, but specifically tell
Sure.
us where people can find you, your
Mhm.
work, your commissions, everything.
I think the best catch-all would be my website to find me. So it will have all of my social media information, contact information, class information, everything like that. And my website is www.elenajochum.com, and it is spelled www.elenajochum.com. And if you want to email me, you can go directly to info@elenajochum.com. And my Instagram, in case you want it, it's ElenaDC, and it's actually spelled ELLENA_DC. And for my current offering, so I actually just became a member of Virginia Watercolor Society, and I'm really excited about that. They have art shows once a year, so I missed this year, but hopefully I'll partake next year. And it's usually in a different city or a different county in Virginia, so it's not in the same place, and they kind of move around. So I'm really excited about that next year. That's super far ahead. Um, for my current classes, I will begin teaching, I think it's called Prince William no, Prince William. I'll have to let you know what it's called because they're kind of new. They just came back and oh, Prince William Art Society.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Yes, Prince William Art Society. I think they're right in Potomac Mills. They
Mm.
just started, and my classes will be in October, so more on that later. Um, I also do provide graphic design services. So, as an experiential brand specialist and a senior designer, I can create logos. I use Illustrator. Everything is created in vectors, and I do provide a free consultation. So, if you have any questions about branding, 30 minutes will, with me, at least put you on the right path on kind of grabbing at the idea of what to do next. And whether you choose your services with me or not, it's fine. I'll still provide a consultation. So please reach out about that. And some classes online, pre-recorded, will be coming up soon. So that's still in the making. Um, what else, Annie? I feel like I have a lot and I don't want to.
I love that you have the live painting experience offer.
Yes, okay. Live painting experience is something that will be super available in the upcoming months.
Hmm.
So it's also still a little bit in the making, but are we talking about the healing arts that we discussed recently?
That
Which
plus
which one?
the healing arts class,
Okay.
which is coming up, which is we're really thrilled about that because it's kind of like the abstract expressionism and
Mm-hmm.
the deliberate paint, like all of it, as it relates to your healing journey. I think that's a beautiful thing and so needed. That's coming up. And then didn't weren't you painting weddings?
Oh, I completely, yes, yes,
Oh
absolutely.
my
So,
God, it's like the
oh my
most
gosh,
amazing
live
thing.
painting. Thank you. Yes, it's a new offer. I'm actually doing a wedding in October.
Wow.
And basically, yeah, it's going to be a weekend in October. I'm super excited. But basically, I bring a canvas and all the supplies with me, and I can paint your wedding. And I
Amazing.
feel like, yeah, I feel like wedding season is a little bit all over the place right now because of COVID, but things are finally starting to come back a little bit. So this will be a super exciting opportunity. I think right now I'm offering only 5 hours, and I do give an opportunity for me to finish it more later in the studio. I can also add on additional portraits of people who were unable to attend, like
Oh
sometimes
my,
it's grandparents. If you're missing your grandparents at a wedding, I can I can put them in the
so
painting so
beautiful.
they can see it. Um, things like that. So yes, that's an offer I'm super excited about. It's on my website, so feel free to take a look as well.
So beautiful. Oh, I just love you, Lana. I love your energy. I love what you're sharing with the world. I love how easily and like effortlessly you share your heart, and it's beautiful to be in your presence. I love hanging out with you, and I love that we're both here in Virginia now, all the way from Okinawa, and that we can continue to work together to bring some of this beauty and magic to people that need it. So, yeah,
Thank you for
oh
having
my
me. I'm so
goodness, of
happy.
course, of course. So we have a class coming up that I'm going to share about in a minute, but thank you so very much, Elena, for being here, and I'll definitely link to everything here in our show notes. It was great talking with you today.
You as well. Always a pleasure. I can't wait to see what we come up with.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.